Hello, my dear subscribers. I have some important news to share with you today. If you haven't seen my last video, I want to let you know that my old channel, Strange Stories, has been discontinued. This has happened because Google has disabled my AdSense account without any reason or warning. I was devastated to lose the channel that I've been working on for so long, but I didn't let it stop me. Instead, I created a new channel called Fascinating Stories. Fascinating Stories is all about the same topic as Strange Stories, near-death experiences. It features the same amazing testimonies sent from viewers like you, and I'm really excited about the new content that I'm creating. So if you love hearing about these incredible stories and want to keep following me on this journey, please subscribe to Fascinating Stories and hit the notification bell so you won't miss a thing. It would mean the world to me to have your support on this new channel. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to see you on my new channel soon.
Hello. My name is Anthony M., and I've just experienced the most heinous occurrence of my life. I was murdered in a motorbike accident, crossed over to the other side, visited with my other family members who had already died, met with Jesus, saw heaven, and was fortunate enough to be allowed to return home. This is the narrative of what transpired and how I was eventually pushed to return to this life rather than stay over there. To describe my crossing over, I'd want to ask whether you've ever been hit in the head hard enough to see a bright blue light. If you've ever been smacked in the nose or between the eyes, that dazzling blue light you see is the route to heaven. I felt a tremendous heat after the automobile hit me, which I didn't see coming, and that blue light was all around me, no matter where I looked. Then I felt a sharp pain and heat all throughout my body. I had no idea what was going on or what to expect, so I simply went with it since it was calling out to me. "Anthony, you're in a lot of pain. Please come this way." As a result, I did. As the blue light spiraled upward, I followed it. The more I relaxed after seeing the light, the less agony and heat I felt. I followed the light until I couldn't see anything below me anymore. The light's route then turned into steps. That is, I was no longer floating, but rather stuck on a single blue light-colored step. As I walked up one, another appeared, then another, and so on. I walked up the steps till I couldn't anymore. The steps of light stopped generating new steps when I was approximately 10 or 15 feet from the summit. That's when I came to a halt and looked up. I noticed a small white stone footbridge with a wrought iron and darkly stained oak handrail. I raised my eyes to the left of the bridge. My family was standing there. My father, 2 sisters, grandmother, and uncle were all present. The bridge center was missing, and the right side was completely empty. I attempted communicating to my family at this time, but it was as if they couldn't hear me or didn't want to hear me. They were all smiling and looking so calm and loving that they were all looking straight past me at something they liked and valued behind and above me. It was breathtaking up there. There are no clouds, trees, dirt, or grass, only white. The most brilliant, pure white I've ever seen. It almost shone. A massive structure lay beyond the bridge. It is constructed of white stones with small square windows. I didn't know what to think at the time, but now that I'm back and have had the time to reflect, I believe it was heaven itself. My father was the first to approach me. "Anthony," he exclaimed, "what exactly are you doing up here?" "I don't know," I replied. "Anthony, you know that jacket of mine?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "That wasn't intended for you. It's your brother's property. What would have occurred if you'd been wearing that jacket at the time of your accident?" "Accident?" I asked. I had no idea what he was talking about, because I had no idea anything had happened. My father then showed me the leather jacket I was wearing at the time the automobile hit me. It was everything shattered. Now I understand what he meant. If I had been wearing his jacket at the time of the accident, it would have been wrecked as well. "Then where would your brother have been?" my father asked, as if he could hear my thoughts. without my father's jacket, which meant so much to both of them. I thought again. You make sure you bring that jacket back to your brother as soon as possible, my father added. It wasn't intended for you. It was intended for him. Sure, Dad. I'll get it back to him as quickly as possible, I said. Just as I was ready to speak to my sisters, this white, opalescent aura encircled them all. It appeared to be the most pure, bright energy available. Another shadow arose between the white shadow glow and their actual selves. But this time, it was made of the purest, goldest gold. I was completely taken aback. Words could not explain the wonderful sensation I was experiencing. As if they were so fortunate. I admired them. Then I reached up to my grandmother and attempted to pull her hair back. I was curious in what lay between the gold, bright and pure light. However, when I reached for her hair, I felt her hand push mine away. I stared at her, as if to say, Gram, what exactly are you doing? How come I miss you so much? Then I attempted it again and again. Anthony, you don't want to stare at the light. It's not for you, she murmured, each time she pushed my hand away. I was taken aback. That's when Norma, Audrey, Grammy, and Uncle Carl approached me. Anthony, they all said at the same time. It's not your time. You have to return. You have a lot to live for. It's just not your time. Rewind. But it hurts so much. I don't believe I can go back, I answered. I also don't know how to go back. A bright beam of light came down to my right at the same instant, like a powerful halogen spotlight on a dark night. When I looked up to see what was causing the light, I saw Jesus flying down on top of the beam. He swooped down to meet me. Then he looked me in the eyes and asked, So Anthony, what are you going to do? You mean I have a choice? I asked, looking Jesus in the eyes. Of course you do, Jesus replied. You were seriously injured in an accident. Nobody would blame you for staying here. Then I wondered, what would happen to those folks I care about down there? Then Jesus put his hand on my shoulder, turned me around, and commanded me to gaze down without saying anything. When I looked down, I saw that everyone I loved and cared about was standing together, looking sad and lost. This is what your death will do to the people you love, Jesus said. Then he opened them up, so I could view their hearts as well. My wife Anne, Mother Grace, brothers Darren and Bovey, and sisters Christy and Diana were all visible. Their hearts had been ripped apart and bits were flowing down. Their hearts were breaking, according to Jesus. My stepchildren, Nicholas and Danielle, were also present. This is what the future will be like without you in their lives, Jesus warned. My mother had a sadness in her heart that wouldn't leave. She was asking herself, why, my special little baby? Then I looked at Anne. She never left the house, stopped eating, increased her smoking, and, most significantly, she never dated or went out again. Then I noticed Danielle. She was perhaps 20 years old and preparing to walk down the aisle without someone to give her away. She was very sad. She wanted a traditional wedding and would have given anything to have me there. To see her so lovely and proud. She knew I would have liked her marriage choice. A true man's man, just like myself. The decision was no longer difficult. I knew I had to return. Then I began to hear the prayers of everyone who cared about me. Pauline, my wife, my elderly neighbors, my mother, my in-laws, and my siblings and sisters, as though they were right there with me. I could sense their thoughts and prayers. I would look around after hearing a prayer to see who was saying it. When I knew who it was, one of the steps vanished and I descended one step. Then I told Jesus, I'd like to return. It's not your time, Jesus answered. I have larger, greater things planned for you. I believe Jesus approved of my decision. Then I asked myself, what about the pain? What about the recovery? Will I be my true self? Again, Jesus must have read my mind when he stated, no one will go through what you went through and come back empty-handed. I'll get back to you with something. So he grabbed my right hand with his right hand. Then he put it on and cuddled the back of my head with his left hand. All of my pain vanished at that time, and the moment he placed his left hand behind my head, my feet soared up to almost a 45-degree angle. We then began a smooth escalator-like fall until we were immediately over Maine Medical Center. Then, as if we were ghosts, we descended through the roof into the operating room, where my doctor was performing surgery on my severely damaged skull and brain. And Jesus softly glided and placed my spirit back into my body in one fluid movement. That's all I can recall.